Right now, you are surrounded by strangers. Maybe not in this exact room, but today you will stand shoulder to shoulder with people you have never met, in a train, a shop, a crowded street, and you will not think anything of it. You will feel safe. And that quiet, unremarkable calm is the strangest thing about you. You think of yourself as a reasonable animal, civilized, modern, but the real story is far stranger than that. Because no other ape on Earth could do what you did this morning. Pack 100 wild chimpanzees into a space the size of a subway car, strangers among strangers, and you would not have a commute. You would have a bloodbath. Within minutes, there would be screaming, biting, and bodies. Their nerves could not take it. Yours barely register it. So something happened to you. Somewhere along the line, your species was tamed. And here is the part that should stop you cold. The animal that tamed you was you. You are, in the most literal biological sense, a domesticated creature. Not domesticated by a farmer or a god or another species. Domesticated by your own ancestors, slowly, quietly, over tens of thousands of years. In a process so gradual that no one alive to witness it would ever have noticed it happening. You carry the evidence on your face. You are looking at it every time you pass a mirror. To understand what was done to you, you first have to understand a fox. In 1959, in the cold heart of Soviet Siberia, a geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev began one of the strangest experiments in the history of science. He took silver foxes, wild, snapping, terrified of humans, and he bred them for one single trait. Not size, not coat, not intelligence, tameness. In every generation, he chose only the foxes that were the least afraid, the least aggressive, the ones who flinched a little less when a human hand came near. He bred the calm ones together and threw the rest out of the program. That was the entire rule. Choose the gentle. Repeat. You would expect this to slowly produce gentle foxes. It did. But it also produced something nobody asked for. Within a handful of generations, the foxes started to change in ways that had nothing to do with fear. Their ears went floppy. Their tails began to curl. Their coats broke out in white patches and star-shaped blazes across the forehead. Their snouts grew shorter and rounder. Their skulls shrank. They started to whine and wag and seek out human faces, and they held on to these childish behaviors long into adulthood. Belyaev had selected for one thing, a calm mind, and a whole cascade of unrelated features had come tumbling out alongside it. His colleague Lyudmila Trut carried the work on for decades, and the pattern never broke. Scientists had a name for this cluster of traits because they had seen it before, everywhere. Floppy ears, curly tails, white patches, shorter faces, smaller teeth, smaller brains, a face that stays young-looking into adulthood. They call it the domestication syndrome, and once you know to look for it, you find it stamped across nearly every animal humans have ever tamed. Dogs have it. Cats have it. Cows, pigs, horses, goats, rabbits. Tame the mind, and the body drifts again and again toward the same soft, rounded, youthful shape. Why? Why should a calm temperament drag floppy ears and a short face along with it? For a long time, nobody could say. Then, in 2014, 3 researchers, Adam Wilkins, Richard Wrangham, and Tecumseh Fitch, offered an answer that ties the whole thing together with a single thread. The thread is a bundle of cells in the embryo called the neural crest. Here is what that means, in plain terms. Very early in development, long before an animal has a face or a temperament, a special population of cells forms along the back of the embryo and then migrates outward to build an astonishing range of body parts. These neural crest cells become the pigment in your skin, the cartilage in your ears and the tip of your nose, parts of your jaw and your teeth, and crucially, the adrenal glands, the very organs that flood your body with fear and aggression when you are threatened. Now imagine you select an animal for tameness. What you are really selecting for is a milder fear response, which means slightly smaller, slightly quieter adrenal glands, which means slightly fewer neural crest cells arriving where they are needed. And because those same cells also build the ears, the snout, the pigment, and the teeth, a small shortage in one place shows up everywhere at once. Tameness is not one change. Tameness is a leak, and everything downstream of it changes color. Now look at yourself. Compare your skull to that of an early human or a Neanderthal, and the difference is unmistakable. Their brow ridges were heavy, jutting shelves of bone. Yours is smooth. Their faces were long and robust. Yours is short and flat and almost childlike. Your teeth are smaller than theirs. Your jaw is lighter. Even your brain, strangely, is slightly smaller than it was in humans 20,000 years ago. You have floppy ears in a species that never had pointed ones to lose, patchy pigment in the form of every skin tone and freckle and birthmark, and a face that, next to your ancient relatives, looks permanently young. You have the domestication syndrome. You are the tame fox. Nobody bred you on purpose. So who did? This is where the story turns dark and far more interesting. The primatologist Richard Wrangham, in his book The Goodness Paradox, points out something uncomfortable about you. You are, in one sense, the gentlest ape alive. Your rate of what scientists call reactive aggression, the hot, impulsive, in-the-moment violence of a fight breaking out, is astonishingly low compared to a chimpanzee. You can spend a lifetime shoulder to shoulder with strangers and never once come to blows. But you are also capable of something no other animal on Earth can do: cold aggression, planned aggression, the kind that is decided in advance, organized, carried out with patience. You are both the calmest ape and the only ape that can plan a killing. That is the paradox. And Wrangham argues that the second thing is exactly what created the first. Picture a small band of early humans tens of thousands of years ago. Among them is a bully, a large, aggressive, domineering man who takes what he wants, who terrorizes the others, who cannot be reasoned with. In a chimpanzee troop, he would rule because raw strength wins. But these are not chimpanzees. These are creatures with language. And language lets the weaker members do something no other animal can. It lets them talk, quietly, in private. It lets them agree. And one night together, the group does what no single one of them could ever do alone. They remove him, permanently. Do this in every generation, across thousands of years, and you are running Belyaev's experiment on yourselves. You are killing off the most reactively aggressive individuals before they can pass on their temperament, and letting the calmer, more cooperative ones survive and breed. You are selecting for tameness, using the one tool no fox ever had: the ability to conspire. Your ancestors did not become gentle because the world became kind. They may have become gentle because they systematically executed the ones who weren't. The face in your mirror is soft because long ago your species turned its cold intelligence against its own hot tempers and won. There is gentler evidence for the same story too. In 2014, an anthropologist named Robert Sierry measured hundreds of human skulls spanning the last 200,000 years, and he found that our faces began to soften, our brow ridges to shrink, around 80,000 years ago, exactly as complex tools, art, and culture began to explode. His interpretation is quietly beautiful. As humans became more tolerant of one another, as they could gather in larger groups without violence, they could share ideas, teach, trade, and build on each other's discoveries. Tameness did not make us weaker. Tameness is what made culture possible. The soft face and the sudden flowering of the human mind are the same event, seen from two angles. Other scientists have followed the same trail to a hopeful place. The researcher Brian Hare calls it survival of the friendliest. His argument is that in humans, and in our close cousins the bonobos, who tamed themselves in the wild without any help from us, the winners were not the strongest or the most aggressive. The winners were the friendliest. The ones who could tolerate a stranger, cooperate with a rival, extend a hand instead of a fist. Friendliness in this telling is not a weakness civilization taught you. It is a superpower evolution selected for, the single trait that let a soft-faced, small-toothed ape inherit the entire planet. But Hare adds a warning, and you should hear it. The same wiring that makes you exquisitely kind to those you see as your group makes you capable of shutting that kindness off completely for those you don't. The tenderness and the cruelty come from the same place. The animal that can love a stranger on a train is the same animal that, under the right story, can stop seeing a stranger as human at all. Your gentleness and your capacity for organized horror are not opposites. They grew on the same branch, so sit with the whole strange shape of it. You are a wild animal that was tamed, and the one who tamed you was your own kind. You were bred over countless quiet generations toward calm, toward cooperation, toward a face that stays young and a temper that stays cool, and the tool used to do it was the very thing that makes you most human. Your ability to agree with others about who does not belong. You are living proof that friendliness can be a form of strength and that it can be forged by something far darker than friendliness. Right now, you are surrounded by strangers, and you are calm. Not because the danger ever truly left the world, but because, a very long time ago, your ancestors turned their sharpest minds against the cruelest among them, generation after generation, until the calm was bred into your bones and written across your face. You are not simply a civilized animal. You are the animal that tamed itself, and the proof has been looking back at you from the mirror your whole life.